Hey everyone, it's Hayes, and in today's video we're going to bring the overall commentary slash analysis on season 5, as in like all of the plots. So last season, after the season ended and I had rewatched it more than once all the way through chronologically, yay! We did like the progression of the plot, character development and relation developments all in one video, how well I think it was executed or how not well. But I think because like we're at the end of the arc now, I'm not going to do the characters in this video. I think I said this before. I want to do like separate videos looking at how each of them develops, like Marinette from season 1 to season 5, Adrian, Gabriel, Alia, so on. Right now I'm thinking of doing Marinette, Adrian, Gabriel, Alia, Chloe, Natalie, Felix, maybe Lila, maybe Nino and Kagami. I'm not entirely sure who I'm going to do yet, so let me know. So because I want to do like a whole deep dive and look at them from the start to the end, or the end as it stands at the moment, I'm not going to look at them in this video. And I have some things to say about how the Love Square went this season, and I think I'm just going to save that for a separate video as well. So for now, this video is just going to be about the plot of season 5. Of course, character development and relationship developments, including Love Square, will be included here and there because like it's all together, you know. So I'm going to end up mentioning them, but I'm going to be mainly focusing on the plot, and by the plot I mean the plot collectively from evolution to recreation, how it progresses, how it develops. Now obviously I can't mention absolutely everything because otherwise we'd be here for hours and I have things to do. I'm sure you do too. So if you want to know my exact thoughts on a certain episode, I would just recommend going to watch the analysis on that episode. If you want a more like general overview of what I think of all the episodes, I would watch my episode ranking video instead. It really depends what you want. This is looking at how the plot has progressed from evolution to recreation, but I can't mention anything. I'm just going to basically attempt to hit all the major plot points of this season. And of course, as always, this video is all my own opinion. If you don't agree with me, whether by a little or by a lot, then that's totally fine, as long as you're respectful about it in the comments. Don't mind you having a different opinion, just please share that opinion with kindness. Thank you very much. So, the season as a whole, in terms of the plot, did I like it? No, don't get me wrong, there were some episodes I loved. My favourite episodes: 19 Pretension, 11 Deflagration, 8 Reunion, and there were plenty of little moments that I loved even in episodes I didn't really enjoy all that much. For example, I'm not the biggest fan of Elation, but I loved the kissing scene. So not a big fan of the whole episode, but that scene I thought was beautiful. But overall, the plot from 1 to 26, I don't think overall the plot worked well at all this season. So I kind of tried to like sum up the season, and I couldn't think of a way to. So the way I kind of like split the season up is like episodes 1 to 5 is like establishing new stakes, 6 to 11 is quite a heavy focus on the Love Square at times, 12 to 15 is like rising stakes, 16 and 17 are focusing on Adrianette, and then 18 to 26 was kind of more like, let's just throw the rest of the plot at the wall and see what sticks. I think the first 5 episodes, in terms of cohesiveness and developing and establishing plots, they were a great start. Like I said, it establishes the stakes. So episode 1, it really shows how dangerous Monarch Daddy is with all of his new powers now. Episode 2 hints at what Gabriel Babes and Tomaway are doing, but we don't fully find out yet. Episode 3, we see the lens Gabriel Babes is gonna like willing to go to. He gets Cataclysm because he doesn't want to hand it over. He is quite literally willing to die for this. Episode 4 shows us how dangerous Akuma victims can be now they've got the Miraculouses. And 5 introduces the Resistance, which helps sporadically throughout the season. But after episode 5, I don't personally feel that the plot of this season really develops rationally, in my opinion. Let me explain. So a lot of like smaller plot points are started and then I kind of forgotten about. So Marinette falls for counter war, even though she's like completely forgetting, doesn't mention at any point that she can't because of Cat Blanc. If you remember, the only thing she is aware of in Cat Blanc, as in the reason the world is like this, is because they fell in love. So because of Cat Blanc, she knows she can't fall in love with him, but she does anyway, and she doesn't mention it. If I was Marinette, suddenly developed feelings for Cat Noir, I'd be like super scared. I'd be like, we can't be doing this. Everyone's gonna die. You know what I mean? Like, no, this can't be a thing. And she doesn't just seem to enter her head at any point. There's also like Natalie taking revenge on Gabriel babes in Passion, which is also very quickly forgotten about after the end of the episode. We see hints of it here and there, of her wanting to disobey Gabriel and stuff like that, but it never really gets followed through properly, in my opinion. Monarch Daddy finds out Cat Noir has feelings for Marinette in Elation, which he says he'll exploit, and never does. Kagami and Lila's friendship in 12, 16 and 18, it seems to go nowhere. It serves a purpose of getting Kagami akumatized twice, and then it's just forgotten about, don't know why. It's a bit strange. Amelie confronts Gabriel and Natalie in 18. That also goes nowhere. I have no idea what the point of that was, to be honest. The Chloe Mare plot just seems to come out of absolutely nowhere. Whose idea even was that? I don't get it. And while I love the idea of Luca training to be a guardian, or maybe something else, I don't know what he's doing, they never told us, I don't know what he's actually doing, that also comes out of nowhere too. So it's just, whilst some of these things, don't get me wrong, I think were good ideas, not the Chloe Mare thing, everything else I really liked, but there was no follow through with them. They start something and it's just like they forgot about it. I don't know, like, I don't know how else to describe it. Like, I know I'm not the only person to have noticed the one in Elation. Like, Gabriel de-transforms and he says something along the lines of, Cat Noir has feelings for Marinette Dupencheng. I don't know to what extent, but I plan to exploit it. He doesn't even mention it again. He doesn't try to do anything. And there are other examples of this where something starts and then there's no follow through. And it's very strange, and it makes it very unsatisfying to watch because there is no follow through. So that is definitely something that contributed to me not liking the way the plot of this season was executed. But there are also 3 other things, and the first one, and I hate to say that this is one of them, is a love square. Now, I love romance, I love the love square, it is the primary reason I watch the show. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'm not the biggest fan of superheroes. If there was no love square, I probably would not watch this show. It's just because of who I am, personal preference. I know not everyone watches it for the love square, and that's totally fine. But I do, everyone knows I do, it's not like a secret. I watch it for the love square. And I do love the love square, but too much time, in my opinion, like I say, I hate to say it, too much time, in my opinion, was spent on it this season instead of developing the plot, and it just... no. I don't think it was worth it. I think the plot, since it was ending the Agrest arc, it just wasn't worth it to do. I think the plot needed more attention over the romance, in my opinion. It also does seem a little bit out of balance with every other season of Miraculous, since while there, yes, don't get me wrong, is a focus on romance because it is a big facet of the show, it just seems like they took away so much of the plot to focus on the love square, and it ended up being not a very good decision, in my opinion. Like I said, I'm going to go into it more in my Love Square dedicated video and the issues I have with it this season, but yeah, I think focusing so much on it wasn't a good choice because there was less time for the rest of the more important plot points because of the amount of time focused on the love square. The second thing, in my opinion, is like the lack of overarching themes. So for example, season 4 I think had a really solid plot all the way through. Don't get me wrong, there were some episodes I didn't like so much, but the overarching plot of season 4 I did really like. And I think that was really helped because it established straight away the solid themes and really solid themes around secrets and how they ruin relationships. The first 3 episodes, Truth, Lies, Gang of Secrets, just the titles alone established to the audience, to us, what the theme, what the tone is going to be of this season, and it really helped tremendously with how the plot of season 4 progressed. However, season 5 in comparison, I'm not really sure what those overarching themes were. If you have any ideas, any thoughts of this, I'd love to know. But due to the lack of themes to hold it all together, it kind of felt flat and it made the season feel quite disjointed. The only real theme I can personally think about, again please let me know if you can think of some yourself, the only one that I can think of is father-son relationships. Like this season we did get the introduction of the kitchen scenes, and it seems that, in my opinion, like I said, I'd have to go back and rewatch the rest of the show, but from my memory, in my opinion, it seems season 5 definitely seemed to be the season that Adrian and Gabriel spent the most time with each other, you know, which does make sense. Gabriel's dying, he would like to win, he's not sure if he can, so he'd like to spend this extra time with his son. I get it. I'm not criticising for that. I did like the amount of time they spent together, and I did think the kitchen scenes were all really interesting. But again, they also seem to be going in a different direction with the father-son stuff. If you remember at the end of Risk last season, Adrian finds like the, I'm just gonna call it the spyglass, the thing that Felix wears, but then Gabriel Babes is holding it in episode 19. So it seems that their idea when they were writing the end of season 4 is that they had a different plan for the spyglass, and for whatever reason they didn't end up following up through with it, okay? Or Adrian simply dropped it on the floor, but we don't see him do that. Nor do we see Gabriel Babes pick it up later. I don't know. It was obviously needed for them to be able to follow Felix's scent in Pretension, but like when he picked that up, when he found that, I don't know. But even again, that father-son theme falls flat because Adrian isn't there to confront his dad in the finale. And yes, I know Thomas Astruc has said that if Adrian was there and found out, it would result in Cat Blanc again. And I have to disagree. Cat Blanc happened in season 3. 2 seasons ago, and by Thomas Astruc saying that is him admitting that Adrian hasn't had any character development since Cat Blanc. If him finding out results in the exact same Akuma and the exact same situation. Do I think Adrian would be upset if he found out? Yes, absolutely. Do I think he'd be akumatized though? No. Adrian has developed as a character, despite Thomas admitting he hasn't done any of it. He has developed, he's a much stronger person, he quit modelling this season, he stood up to Chloe, he disobeys his dad in representation and also argues with his dad in Akuma form. I highly doubt season 1 Adrian would have been able to do that. Even season 3 Adrian, I don't think he would have done that either. And furthermore, Ladybug would have been there for him. And one thing that has happened this season is their relationship has got back on track after what happened in season 4. I think this time he wouldn't get akumatized. But because he's not in the finale, I know he does confront him in representation, but because he's not in the finale, the father-son relationship theme to me doesn't have a proper end and therefore isn't satisfying. And yes, before anyone asks, Adrian being there still bothers me. The only reason I'm letting it pass for now is because I'm hoping he finds out eventually. If he never does, I will take the anger about that to my grave. I wish I was joking. I'm like holding back because I'm hoping it might not happen till like season 7. I'm aware of that. So right now I'm letting it slide because I am hoping he will find out eventually. Through what means exactly, we will do a theory video on that, but I'm hoping he will find out one day. But if we end this show, as in the whole show, without him ever knowing, I'm gonna be fuming. I will be so mad. Anyway, and the third thing that in my opinion that didn't help this season was the lack of like mystery progression, I'll explain in a second, around how the Akuma villains were using the miraculous powers. So what I mean like by mystery progression is that Marinette just happens to find everything out all at once in like episode 24-25. She doesn't really do any investigating like you would in a mystery to find out what is going on. The only reason Marinette finds out really is kind of just because she was in the right place at the right time, which in my opinion, as a long-time viewer of the show who's been, you know, we've all been waiting for her to find everything out, and she ends up finding out because of a coincidence, isn't very satisfying in my opinion. I can understand at first from episodes like 2 to 10, Marinette kind of assumes that the Akuma victim is given a miraculous somehow, like we see in Multiplication. She asks Mr. Rugi, like the mouse, it's like a pendant with a hole in, have you seen it? And she's like, no. And then they're also looking for the pig miraculous from Mr. Damocles in 4. They can't find it. So it seems that when, like she seems to think that when they get de-akumatized, the miraculous somehow gets taken, and I get her line of thinking there. She has no reason not to think that. She has no evidence, she has no reason to think something else. However, in episode 11, Deflagration, she finally sees the rings and realises Monarch Daddy has somehow reconfigured the Miraculous into the rings, which she then never mentions again. Why doesn't Ladybug, for example, visit Max, who's great with technology, and ask him for help? Or even just Alia, both of them between them. Like, there were other signs other than just the rings that the Alliance rings were being used for the akumatizations, such as Bibu in episode 10, Transmission, and Tomoe in episode 19, Pretension, because for definite Bibu had at least 5 rings. Did Tomoe have, I think she had 4 or 5, something like that. I can't remember the exact powers they both had now. But they were able to be given extra powers due to the amount of rings they were wearing. So Marinette has enough information to get her thinking about this, but it doesn't seem like she gives it another thought after episode 11. She sees the ring, she's like, oh, you've reconfigured the Miraculous. And that's it. That's the only thought she has about it. And while I love seeing her reaction to finding out who Monarch Daddy is in episode 25, when she sees Monarch Daddy transform, I think it would have been, like I said before, so much satisfying as a viewer to see her slowly over the course of the season work things out, maybe get to some wrong conclusions, realise why she was wrong, carry on working, and then in 25 for her to find out it's him without Felix having to tell her and without her just happening to be in Natalie's room at that exact precise moment. Now, I do understand they had a lot of plot to fit in this season in order to get to the goal of ending the Agrest arc, but there were just some plot points that didn't seem necessary to me, like I said before. Chloe becoming mayor. It does seem like it was done just to justify her leaving the show, whether it was done just to get rid of her for the rest of the season or permanently. Right now I have no idea if she'll be back. I'm really not sure. Part of me is like, I'd like her to be back, the other part of me is like, I don't trust them where her writing is concerned, so I kind of hope she goes off to live a nice life wherever it was she was going, and she becomes a better person and the writers don't ruin her any further. I don't know what they're gonna do with her, but I don't know why they didn't just like send her on vacation after all the Lila stuff in like episode 21 or whatever, if they wanted her gone, because she wasn't going to be used in the finale. But then again, she also wasn't really used last finale. Like, the only thing she did, she like did 2 things. She pushed Marinette out of the way of saying goodbye to Adrian and Risk, and then we see her staring angrily at the sky with Zoe right at the end of Strike Back. She didn't do anything, and they didn't need to kick her out of the country in order for her not to do anything. So I don't really understand why they really needed her gone, to be honest. I don't really get the decisions around Chloe. But that's more for the Chloe video, we'll talk about that a different day. But I really feel like they could have got rid of the Chloe Mare plot, because whilst her Akuma outfit was fabulous, I didn't see the point in it. I didn't think it was necessary at all. They could have got rid of that plot in order to focus more on creating a mystery and an investigation for Marinette to follow through, and so she could figure things out logically. Because in the end, like I said, she only finds out Gabriel Babes is Monarch Daddy because she happens to be in the right place at the right time. And yes, I know Felix tells her in 24 representation, which Thomas Astruc has also confirmed Marinette finds out then, and while she has no reaction, and whilst that can be argued Felix and Kagami were just telling her a lot in the play and, you know, it was a lot for her to take in, I can understand that. She says at the end of representation, the episode ends with her saying, "I'll help you." Granted, they're not there, she's on her own at school, but she says, "I'll help you." If she doesn't know it's Gabriel by that point, how can she help them if she's not sure of the identity of the person she's supposed to be taking down? Doesn't really make sense. So at that point, you'd think she'd be straight off to confront Gabriel as Ladybug. She doesn't though. She spends a whole day doing not that, I don't know what she's done, because when she leaves school, it's morning. The majority of representation, apart from that end scene, takes place at night during this party thing. She falls asleep at school, she wakes up in the morning, and then confirmation, like it kind of starts with her waking up from a nightmare. It's the day after. She spent a whole day doing nothing. I don't know what she's done. And the only reason she goes to the Agrest mansion is because she gets infected with a nightmare about Adrian, so goes to confront Gabriel or Natalie to find out some information about where he is and how he is doing. That's why she goes to the mansion. She doesn't go there because Felix told her that Gabriel Babes is Hawk Daddy, and she doesn't go there because Felix and Kagami asked her for help. She goes because of Adrian. Nothing else. And honestly, you know, just in general, representation was not good. I still don't see the reason why Felix or Kagami needed to know Marinette is Ladybug. You know, Argos and Kagami could have just cornered Ladybug for help. They didn't need to know she was Marinette. And also just like two things leading on from that. Firstly, they basically asked for Marinette's help so they could date. That's why they wanted to take Gabriel down. Not to save the city, not to save the world, so they could date each other. And while I can believe Felix would do that, you know, he's very much in this for his own personal gain, that's like what an anti-hero is. They don't do good or bad things to hurt other people, they just don't really care about other people. It's for them, so if it ends up being a good thing, they're like, okay, I don't care, it's for me. They're kind of selfish. So whilst I can get Felix doing that, I don't think Kagami will do that. In comparing the two of them, to me, Kagami is just like a morally upstanding character, and I feel like if she ever found out who Monarch Daddy was, whether he was Gabriel Agreste or someone else, even if it was her own mum, I'd think she'd be straight to Ladybug or Cat Noir, however, whatever method she could to find them, to tell them, because she'd want to help people, she'd want to save people's lives. She wouldn't be doing it so she could date someone. It doesn't fit her character to me. Secondly, we find out in episode 24 that Kagami found out that Marinette might be Ladybug in episode 12 Perfection, and she's akumatized again in episode 16 Protection. While I can buy for episode 12 that she wasn't sure, so therefore didn't act on it, I don't buy that for episode 16, since the reason Lila manages to get Kagami akumatized is due to Marinette apparently being basically two-faced. Even if in that moment when she was akumatized in Protection, Kagami was still unsure, because she was so angry, she would for definite have been going to Marinette to just check she was Ladybug. She has the power to do it in that moment because she's akumatized. She would be checking. She would have been going to Marinette to check, no doubt about it. The same way Alia thinks Chloe is Ladybug in Lady Wi-Fi. And furthermore, to me, Kagami's just not as mentally strong as Luca. Between the two of them, Kagami, in my opinion, is far more emotionally volatile or unable to hold back on her emotions because of her upbringing. And I don't think there would have been any way of her not letting Monarch Daddy know who she thought Ladybug was if Luca could barely manage to hold back in episode 13 Migration. There would just be no way. In my opinion, to have better executed this season better, they firstly needed to establish some solid themes right at the top of the season, like in season 4. There was the theme of secrecy, it was handled so well. Less attention to Love Square, and for it to be handled better, but we'll talk about that in a separate video. Some mystery around the rings and Marinette and maybe Alia or even Adrian trying to work things out, or even the Resistance, I don't know. And to make the payoff of Gabriel being revealed to Marinette as Monarch Daddy more satisfying as a long-time viewer, because her finding out is just a coincidence. And the last thing is to not start these mini plots that don't really seem to go anywhere. However, since the whole thing was criticism, I do want to say some good things about the season. I think what they did really well was raising the stakes this season. I really feel like the whole tone of the show has shifted into something more serious. I think they did that really well. It's not always easy to do, since like comparing to season 1 it's quite goofy and silly. I think they actually did a really good job of changing the tone and raising the stakes. I also felt Gabriel was kind of scary this season. I really liked how they showed his like descent into desperation though, that was really effective. I also liked how he used his brain, for example with the snake Miraculous. Turns out he's been using it all season. I really liked how that was done, how Ladybug and Cat Noir at the end of Intuition was like, oh, it's surprising he hasn't used it. Turns out he's been using it this whole time, but they obviously have no idea. I thought it was really clever. I also really love the introduction of Soculine. I really hope they use her more, which I think they will, assuming they're going to the same school next year. Soculine's only a year older, so I'm assuming they'll both be in high school, right? They're going to high school, right? The school system confuses me. Okay, it's not the same as here, I don't know it. And I also think the use of Lila was really effective this season too. And while I don't think they executed the Love Square amazingly well throughout the season, I think the build up to them getting together by the end of term was done well in terms of the anticipation and using the will they won't they sort of thing. And as much as I think the episode Derision, episode 14, needed to be in season 3 at the very latest, I did love the way they portrayed anxiety in that episode, and some of the dialogue this season was absolutely stunning. The pretension pancake sequence was executed almost to perfection. So there you go, besties. That is what I thought overall of season 5. If you loved season 5, then I am so sorry. I personally did not love season 5. I don't go into any of the episodes looking for something to hate. This is my favourite TV show. People don't go all the way to a different country to watch the film of their favourite TV show to try and look at things to hate about it. I dearly love this show and I try to be respectful when I'm criticising it. I hope this video didn't come across as super duper hateful or anything like that. I hope I haven't offended any of you who love season 5. Like I said, there were some episodes and some moments I loved, but overall it just wasn't for me. I think that's fine, you know. But yeah, I love this TV show. I don't go into an episode or a season looking for things to hate. I want to love it, but as a professional writer, I feel like it's my duty to call out things when I just don't think they're the greatest. I think season 4 was one of the best written seasons of the show, so was season 2. Season 3 was a bit season 5 was a bit Anyway, besties, these were all of my thoughts around this season of Miraculous, just the plot. We're going to deep dive into certain characters and how they developed across the whole show. Let me know who you'd like me to do a video on. Please let me know which characters you would like for me to do, and the video on the love square will be coming soon as well. So I'd love to know what you think of this video, besties. What did you like or not like about the season? And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!